Article 725.154 of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates that low-voltage wire must be installed within a conduit or raceway when run inside walls. A conduit is essentially a protective tubing system typically made of metal or plastic, designed to encase and protect electrical wiring. Raceways serve a similar purpose, providing an enclosed channel for housing and routing electrical wires. The selection between conduit and raceway often depends on the specific application, the environment, and local building codes. Factors such as the degree of physical protection needed, the presence of moisture or corrosive elements, and the accessibility requirements can influence this choice. Using conduit or raceway offers several advantages. Firstly, it provides a physical barrier that shields the low-voltage wires from damage such as punctures, abrasions, or impacts. Secondly, it helps prevent the spread of fire by containing any potential electrical faults within the enclosure. Thirdly, it facilitates the easy replacement or addition of wires in the future, as the wires can be pulled through the conduit or raceway without disturbing the wall structure. Article 725.156 of the NEC stipulates that the conduit or raceway housing the low-voltage wire must be securely fastened to the wall. This secure fastening is crucial for maintaining the integrity of the electrical installation and ensuring long-term reliability. Proper fastening prevents the conduit or raceway from becoming dislodged or damaged, which could compromise the protection of the wires and create a safety hazard. The NEC does not specify the exact method of fastening, but it generally involves using appropriate hardware, such as screws, clamps, or brackets to anchor the conduit or raceway to the wall studs or other structural elements. The spacing between fasteners should be sufficient to provide adequate support and prevent sagging or movement of the conduit or raceway. It's essential to choose fasteners that are compatible with the materials of both the conduit or raceway and the wall. For instance, when attaching metal conduit to a wooden stud, wood screws would be suitable. When attaching plastic conduit to a concrete wall, concrete anchors would be necessary. Proper fastening not only enhances safety but also contributes to the overall neatness and professionalism of the electrical installation. Article 725.158 of the NEC emphasizes that the installation of the conduit or raceway must be performed in a workmanlike manner. This seemingly simple requirement encompasses a range of best practices and attention to detail that are essential for a safe and reliable electrical system. A workmanlike manner implies that the installation should be neat, orderly, and free from any defects that could compromise its performance or safety. It means that the conduit or raceway should be properly aligned, securely fastened, and free from any sharp bends or kinks that could damage the wires inside. It also means that all connections and terminations should be made correctly and securely, using appropriate connectors and fittings. In addition to the NEC requirements, it is also important to consult with your local building code to determine if there are any additional regulations or restrictions regarding the installation of low-voltage wire in walls. Local building codes may have more stringent requirements than the NEC, or they may address specific issues that are not covered by the NEC. Checking with your local building department can help ensure that your installation is fully compliant with all applicable regulations. When working with low-voltage wiring, it is important to take certain safety precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock or other hazards. Firstly, always disconnect the power supply before working on any electrical circuits. This will prevent the risk of accidental electrocution. Secondly, use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as insulated gloves and safety glasses, to protect yourself from potential hazards. Thirdly, never work on electrical systems when you are tired or distracted. Electrical work requires focus and concentration, and fatigue can increase the risk of making mistakes. Low-voltage wiring systems are commonly used in a variety of applications, including lighting, security systems, and home automation. They offer several advantages over high-voltage systems, such as increased safety, reduced energy consumption, and greater flexibility. However, it is important to install low-voltage wiring correctly and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations to ensure its safe and reliable operation. By following the NEC requirements and consulting with your local building code, you can ensure that your low voltage wiring installation is safe, code compliant, and performs as expected. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician if you are unsure about any aspect of the installation. In addition to the specific articles mentioned, several other sections of the NEC may be relevant to low voltage wiring installations. For example, Article 300 covers general wiring methods and materials, and Article 310 addresses conductors for general wiring. It is essential to familiarize yourself with all applicable sections of the NEC before beginning any electrical work. Furthermore, proper grounding is crucial for electrical safety. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and preventing electrical shock. Ensure that all low-voltage wiring systems are properly grounded in accordance with the NEC. In addition to the NEC, other industry standards may provide guidance on best practices for low-voltage wiring installations. For example, the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, or NEMA, publishes standards for electrical enclosures, fittings, and other components. These standards can help ensure that the materials you use are of high quality and meet industry performance requirements. When planning a low-voltage wiring installation, it is essential to consider the voltage drop that may occur over long distances. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs as electricity flows through a wire, and it can affect the performance of connected devices. The NEC provides guidelines for calculating voltage drop and selecting the appropriate wire size to minimize its effects. When installing low-voltage wiring in walls, it is important to avoid running the wires through areas where they may be exposed to physical damage or moisture. For example, avoid running wires near pipes or ductwork that may leak or cause condensation. Also, avoid running wires through areas where they may be easily punctured by nails or screws. In some cases, it may be necessary to use a special type of conduit or raceway that is designed to protect wires from physical damage or moisture. For example, rigid metal conduit provides excellent protection from physical damage, while liquid-type flexible metal conduit can protect wires from moisture. When making connections to low-voltage wiring, it is essential to use appropriate connectors and fittings. Use connectors that are specifically designed for the type of wire you are using and ensure that the connections are tight and secure. Loose or poorly made connections can cause electrical problems and create a safety hazard. Finally, always test your low voltage wiring installation after it is complete to ensure that it is working properly. Use a multimeter to check the voltage and current levels and verify that all connected devices are functioning as expected. If you find any problems, troubleshoot them and correct them before putting the system into service. Low voltage lighting systems are a popular application for low voltage wiring. These systems typically use 12 volts or 24 volts alternating current or direct current to power the lights, which are much safer than 120 volts or 240 volts alternating current systems. Low voltage lighting can be used for a variety of purposes, including accent lighting, task lighting, and landscape lighting. Security systems are another common application for low-voltage wiring. These systems typically use low-voltage wiring to connect sensors, cameras, and control panels. Low-voltage wiring is ideal for security systems because it is difficult to tamper with and it is less likely to cause a fire. Home automation systems are becoming increasingly popular, and they often rely on low-voltage wiring to connect various devices and systems. These systems can be used to control lighting, temperature, security, and entertainment systems. Low-voltage wiring is a versatile and safe way to connect these devices and systems, and it allows for greater control and flexibility. When installing low-voltage wiring for any of these applications, it is important to follow all applicable codes and regulations. This will ensure that the system is safe and reliable, and that it meets all performance requirements. Remember, safety is paramount when working with electricity. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work. They have the knowledge and experience to install low-voltage wiring safely and correctly, and they can ensure that the system meets all applicable codes and regulations. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your low voltage wiring installation is safe, code compliant, and performs as expected. Remember to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay current with the latest edition. Changes to the code can affect the way that low voltage wiring is installed, so it is important to be aware of these changes. Continuing education courses and industry publications can help you stay up to date on the latest NEC requirements. Proper documentation is also important for low voltage wiring installations. Keep records of the wire types, sizes, and locations, as well as the types of connectors and fittings used. This documentation can be helpful for troubleshooting problems in the future, and it can also be required for inspections. Finally, remember that electrical work is not a DIY project for everyone. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to leave the work to a qualified electrician. They have the training and experience to do the job safely and correctly, and they can ensure that your low voltage wiring installation meets all applicable codes and regulations. The information provided here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician before beginning any electrical work. In addition to the specific articles mentioned earlier, it is important to be aware of other NEC requirements that may apply to your low voltage wiring installation. These requirements may include restrictions on the type of wire that can be used, the methods of support that are required, and the clearances that must be maintained from other objects. The NEC also includes requirements for labeling and marking low voltage wiring systems. These requirements are designed to help identify the wires and to prevent accidental contact with live electrical parts. Make sure to label all low voltage wires and connections clearly, using appropriate labels and tags. The NEC also includes requirements for grounding low voltage wiring systems. Grounding is essential for safety, as it provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and preventing electrical shock. Make sure to ground all low voltage wiring systems properly, in accordance with the NEC requirements. When installing low voltage wiring in damp or wet locations, it is important to use wiring and connectors that are rated for these environments. These components are designed to resist moisture and corrosion, and they can help prevent electrical problems. The NEC also includes requirements for protecting low voltage wiring from physical damage. This may involve using conduit, raceway, or other protective measures to shield the wires from impact, abrasion, or other hazards. When installing low voltage wiring in concealed spaces such as walls or ceilings, it is important to follow all applicable codes and regulations. These codes and regulations are designed to prevent fires and other hazards, and they can help ensure that the wiring is installed safely and correctly. When working with low voltage wiring, it is important to use appropriate tools and equipment. This may include wire strippers, crimpers, multimeters, and other specialized tools. Using the right tools can make the job easier and safer. When making connections to low voltage wiring, it is important to use appropriate connectors and fittings. These connectors and fittings should be designed for the type of wire you are using, and they should be installed properly to ensure a secure and reliable connection. Loose or poorly made connections can cause electrical problems and create a safety hazard. Finally, always test your low voltage wiring installation after it is complete to ensure that it is working properly. Use a multimeter to check the voltage and current levels, and verify that all connected devices are functioning as expected. If you find any problems, troubleshoot them and correct them before putting the system into service. Remember, safety is paramount when working with electricity. If you are not comfortable working with electrical wiring, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work. They have the knowledge and experience to install low voltage wiring safely and correctly, and they can ensure that the system meets all applicable codes and regulations.